Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're so excited to have with us Bonnie-Jill Laflin, founder of Hounds and Heroes, author of the book In a League of Her Own, celebrating female first in sports. We're also going to talk about being a sports broadcaster and an NBA scout for the LA Lakers. So we have a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and dive in. Bonnie-Jill, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. I appreciate you being flexible with my crazy schedule.
Hey, well, you have a lot going on and a lot tied to powering the good in so many ways, especially Hounds and Heroes. We're going to talk all about that, the nonprofit, but you have a very unique and very cool backstory. So give us a little bit of your background, especially tied to animals and veterans and first responders and police, like a lot of neat threads that tie into everything you're doing now. So give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on a horse ranch and grew up with my father being in law enforcement, 47 years undercover narcotics, the rest of my family all military, and then my mom being a big animal lover and my dad being a season ticket holder for all the sports. So it kind of combined what my life basically is, Jeremy, which is sports, veterans, and animals. That kind of sums me up, right? So that was kind of like me as a child, and knew that I wanted sports to be a part of my career, but also knew that how important giving back was. My parents were very instilled a lot into me about always paying it forward, always doing something to make a life better. So I knew that I wanted to eventually start my own nonprofit. After coming back from my 19th USO tour, I have done so many downrange to Iraq and Afghanistan. I knew that there was support that was needed for our veterans, down here in the States, and the VA was just backed up. There wasn't enough support for them. So I realized that loving animals and our veterans, our heroes, was to rescue dogs that would otherwise be euthanized at these high kill shelters and training them as therapy and service dogs for our disabled veterans, for our veterans as support dogs, therapy dogs, service dogs, you name it, veterans suffering from PTSD, TBI, amputees, and being able to have these dogs that could really make a difference and change. And also, with that being said, piggybacking off that and putting laws into Congress. So I go to Capitol Hill quite often, trying to instill and get these bills passed as well. But that's, basically me in a nutshell. My career obviously is, the forefront as well, being in sports and covering all sports. And then obviously I started my nonprofit in 2011. So that takes up most of my time.
Well, let's dive in deeper on Hounds and Heroes for you as the founder, and then we'll kind of touch on the book and sports broadcasting and working with the LA Lakers, because like I said, there's so many really cool storylines. But for Hounds and Heroes, talk about that aspect in terms of what it means for the veterans. We've had a chance on our end to interview a couple of them, and when they talk about just the transformation in their personality, the hope, being able to, get the licks on the faces, but have someone, in terms of their furry loved one that they get a chance to love on and love on them, and responsibility, accountability. Like, there's a lot of layers to what Hounds and Heroes does for the veterans. So dive in a little deeper on the magic and some of the testimonials you get from the veterans.
Right, absolutely. What I kind of say, Jeremy, is that we're saving two lives. You're saving a life that would otherwise be euthanized in a shelter, and you're saving a life of a veteran. And when I say that, the suicide rate for veterans is extremely high. And so these dogs are able to help these veterans with the monotony of the day. There's a lot of veterans that come back after being deployed, and their life looks completely different. After they've been deployed, the family concept, the civilian life, all of that is different. And there are so much trauma that they incur, whether they're blown up by an IED or it's, different depression, stress, whatever triggers that may happen. These dogs can help that. So they can help rewire the brain. They can help, there's, the unconditional love that you always hear about with dogs, but that really is true. There's no judgment. They can, kind of let their guard down. And so when we pair these dogs up, we have seen everything from a Marine who was sleeping in his closet because he was scared to sleep anywhere because he heard bombs going off and was triggered by so many things. He now was not with his family, with his wife or his child. And so after we paired him with his dog, he was able to now, things that we I guess would say easy, going to the bank or getting gas. He wouldn't do. Now we had this dog, which gave him purpose, which then gave him the stability, the foundation for him to be able to get back with his family. And it's just little things like that. And, I've had not only, the soldier, the Marine, the sailor, whoever come to me and say, thank you, but the caregiver, the spouse who's like, we're back, our family, like we were going to get divorced and we're now back and we're solid. And it's because of this dog. You could be in a bad mood and you come home, your dog's wagging its tail and everything seems all right in the world, right? So it's just little things like that the dog already has instinctually, but now when going through training and being able to focus on those different things that the veteran may need, special skill set, we're able to provide that.
Hounds and Heroes also works in collaboration with other nonprofit organizations that support veterans as well, like Airpower Foundation. Talk about that partnership and that collaboration with Airpower Foundation and other veteran supporting organizations.
Airpower has been just amazing. What they do, which is so unique, is they have their mission, which is supporting veterans and military families. However, they go outside of that realm and they're able to help other nonprofits like myself, and which makes it so nice because small nonprofits like all of us, it's like we're always looking for money. You're like, you want volunteers, you want support, but you also need money to be able to pay for these service animals and to make sure these, like for us, like we make sure not only do we pair up the dog with the veteran, we make sure the vet care for life of that dog, the food, all those different things, the training, there's so many things that people don't realize. And so when Airpower and you're able to, partner up with such great people behind and the board at Airpower, and they understand what we're doing, it just really helps to have those unique partnerships and collaborations that are usually, certain charities that want to help and work with each other. And so it's really nice that Airpower is able to do that for us.
What's been one of your favorite parts, most fulfilling in terms of Hounds and Heroes? So, when you look at what you're being able to see, saving 2 lives, bringing families together, all of this, how has this changed your life and perspective?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't even put into words. There's so many things. When I was doing USO tours in the beginning, it was more of that bringing, America to our service members when they were deployed and be able to just know that they're appreciated, they're supported, that we're grateful, different support that we were able to do. And now, being back here in the States, being able to just see the change, like I mentioned before, of, someone who, not sure if they even want to live anymore. They're not sure how to adjust to civilian life. They're not sure what to do when they take off the uniform. And so it's given these veterans something where they can, live their life. And so many of them also have, you're kind of told as these military men and women that, I'm fine. I don't have any problems. And, and for them to even be able to come and say, hey, I need help is huge. So just to see the change, how they're able to kind of break down that barrier, their guard, and because of this dog, and to see how many lives are impacted by these dogs. I don't like to take credit. I help to facilitate this, but at the end of the day, it's the dog that's doing all the work and that, is making sure that this veteran can live its day, live with it, be able to have that relationship with the family. Not only does a dog help the veteran, but it also helps the service member's family and the kids. I mean, you should see the bond we see with these kids and the dog, right? And so just all of it just is something that for me, it's like I feel that I'm put on this earth and we're put on this earth that God wants us to pay back. And for me, it's our nation's heroes and animals.
I love it. Well, we're going to come back to how can the community get involved and help Hounds and Heroes, but I do want to switch over and talk about your book. And so the book is In a League of Her Own, Celebrating Female First in Sports. Talk about this book and especially tied to your very unique backstory yourself in sports.
Yeah, there wasn't a book, Jeremy, that encompassed all the females that have paved the way. Yeah, there's different, offsets of people who've written their own books, but not a book that encompassed all of them. And there are so many women who have been the pioneers, who have been the trailblazers. However, social media wasn't around, or, the Wikipedias are wrong, or whatever, the Google searches. And so people just see the one who's got the million followers, where that necessarily isn't the person that actually paved the way, that did the work, that the reason why you're in that spot, So there was something where I wanted not only just the Billie Jean Kings, of course, she was my chapter 1. If I didn't have Billie Jean, I didn't have a book. But I also had to make sure that there were, the Manon Rhéaume, who's the first female to play in the NHL, unique Jane Kennedy, and different people that maybe weren't like the forefront of the women's movement, who maybe didn't want all the glitz and glamour, but there were women I had to like kind of beg, I want to tell your story. And so for me, it was really being factual of the people, the women who actually did the work and paved the way, and why this has opened it up to so many different females. And now doing a second book, there are, obviously the Caitlin Clarks and the Becky Hammonds and all the different women who have been able to have the social media and these commercials and, all of that. But I really wanted to start with the females who had paved the way and, broke the glass ceilings.
What do you hope that readers take away? Because obviously there's the inspiration side of this, there's the empowerment side of this, but what do you hope that readers take away?
I think a lot of it was for men and women both to be able to read this book and be able to take something from it, whether it no matter what you are, what gender you are, what race you are, that you can, accomplish anything. But also on the men's side, that your daughters, that you don't pigeonhole them into something that they can only do one thing because that's where a female's at. Like for myself, there was no other female scouts. So it's like that whole kind of like phrase of like, okay, if there's not a chair at the table, well, then you bring that chair over and you make space for yourself, right? And to create that. So, for me, it was more of just being able to show like in all walks of life that you can do whatever you put your mind. And these are women that had to face adversity and had to face so many different sacrifices. And that was kind of the key, I think, main point in my book, was that all the women have so many sacrifices, from failed relationship to not having kids to maybe never getting married to, sacrificing so many different things for the passion and love and, of their respected sport. And so that for me was, I've dealt with that. So it was really nice to be able to see how so many women we relate on that.
Give us a glimpse of working with the LA Lakers and being an NBA scout. Did you, in the moment, realize the weight of that, the responsibility of that, being the first? Or was that one of those where you're just there doing your job and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, look at what's happening? Share a little bit of your personal experience with that.
Yeah, the late Dr. Jerry Buss, who was the owner of the Lakers, and then Mitch Kupchak and Phil Jackson and the late Jerry West and Jeannie Buss, they all wanted me to be, scout because I had a good eye for talent. And that first year I wasn't paid. I actually loved it. I was still doing my sports broadcasting, and for a year I didn't get paid, but I loved it. Turned in my scouting reports, and they loved it. And then signed me to a 5-year deal. But you don't really realize until you're a female in that realm that, oh, wait, I'm like, okay, I'm just doing my job. All of a sudden it's like, oh, there's this, female. And the background I'd had, being a cheerleader for the Cowboys or being a model or actress, whatever, it's like, oh, well, maybe her credibility is not there. So it took a long time for people to accept me, and to the point where I would throw my hair up in a ball cap and I'd wear baggy Jordan sweats and tennis shoes and walk and talk a certain way, until one of the assistant coaches, Brian Shaw, for the Lakers, is like, why are you walking like that? Why are you talking like that? Why are you dressing like that? Like, what is your problem? And I'm like, because I want people to accept me. And they're like, no. He's like, you be you. Everything else will come, but just be you. But I was trying so much to be a boy, to be a man, so I would be, basically accepted into the boys club, so to speak. So that was really tough. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of more tears than blood. And I think I just really had to just zone in. Kobe Bryant was a very dear friend of mine. So I remember we were on a plane going to the NBA Finals, and Boston Globe had wrote a smear piece on me. It was the front page of Boston Globe Sports, and went off about that I shouldn't be a scout and whatever, all these things. And Kobe was like, this is good. He goes, I'm glad they wrote this. He's like, because now you will kind of play, when I say play on words, play with a chip on your shoulder, like he did, like how MJ did, how Magic did, kind of where to prove people wrong. And so it's kind of always been my mindset. You think I can't do it? Watch me. And so I think it was actually, in a way, at the time it wasn't, but now I kind of like all the people that were naysayers or who haters, or however you want to say it, because it then made me thrive and strive to be the best.
What advice would you give for young girls? I mean, obviously, when you look at respecting the past, honoring that, learning those lessons and overcoming adversity, like you said, too, being true to yourself, being authentic, that's a big takeaway, too. But what advice would you give them to follow their dreams?
I think there's so much now with social media that you're trying to be someone else. There's only one you. So be authentic and true to who you are. There's a million different people out there that are trying to replicate the Kim Kardashians or whoever it may be. And it's like, you being you is what is going to make it different. Like, they already hired this person, X, Y, and Z. If if you're trying to be someone else, that's just not going to come off as authentic, and that'll catch up with you at some point. So I always say, be true to who you are. It doesn't matter what you look like, how old you are, all those different things. If you're credible and you're authentic and you have great work ethic, that's one of the number ones, a work ethic. You put in that time and you just really encompass and immerse yourself in whatever you're doing, then you can do anything. You have to know that you're going to get slammed because you're a female, especially in a man's world, and you have to have that thick skin. It's not for everyone. But if you've got that drive, ambition, and grit and tenacity to do it, then you really can accomplish anything.
Well, let's switch back over to Hounds and Heroes. Talk about how the community can help support Hounds and Heroes and support your efforts.
Yes. So they go to houndsandheroes.com. Any of our social media, we've now expanded our mission and initiative with horses. So now we're going to be Hounds, Heroes, and Horses. And so we're doing equine therapy on the ranch for children of fallen soldiers, wounded warriors. So we're just really trying to do so much through animals for our veterans. So yeah, we always are needing obviously support, but obviously volunteers to help us when we're doing different fundraisers and different events and so forth. And so yeah, you can reach out and hopefully, you'll be a part of our family.
And then where do we go to buy the book, to follow you, to be in the loop for the next book? So where do we go on that side?
Yes. So Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Target, name it. You can go and buy the book in a league of her own. And we're going to be doing a second book. So Bonnie-Jill.com, Bonnie-Jill and all the social medias. And that's how you can get a hold of me.
Well, absolutely great stuff. Bonnie-Jill, thank you for all you do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.